What's your name?
What's the first memory?
Tim.
Oh.
Okay. And when did you move in?
1998.
1998. Okay, that's the first one done. What was the first day at Bevin Court like? Can you remember all your first kind of memories of Bevin Court?
Well, not having any furniture. Just our. I think we had to. I think Anita probably said we just moved records in, and that was it. Much to the horror of our neighbour. Do you like music? Records and hi-fi system. And I think about a week later, I remember buying a double mattress and putting it on the top of the car I had and driving from Hackney thinking we were going to get stopped by the police. So it was very much living in a squat for the first few months and just buying stuff as we needed it.
Yeah.
But I remember being obviously delighted. Being delighted.
Echoing
really,
in the flat.
Yeah.
Because there's no furniture.
Yeah. Yeah, really liking the block, but also wishing there was a balcony. The flat that we'd been staying in beforehand had a balcony, and it was, I think it was about June, July time, so it was summer, and yeah, that was.
What was it like compared to where you lived before?
Well, I hadn't. In the year before, I'd lived in two places. One in Queen Street Road in Hackney, a housing association flat that are friends that I was staying in, and then for a few months in the Packington estate. That was the flat with the balcony. The housing association being a new build flat, and so it was only about 5 years old when we stayed there for about a year, and the soundproofing was appalling. So that you'd hear the person upstairs make a cup of tea in the morning, the spoon tapping on his mug, and then there was a couple of young girls upstairs when they were ready to go out on Friday night. The whole place used to rock. So although it had been handy staying there, Bevin Court the soundproofing seemed much better than that. And Packington, although the flat was sort of alright, the layout wasn't very well designed, and they've all been knocked down now, or in the process of being knocked down. But I quite like living by the canal there. But Bevin Court, I'd known this area. I've lived in London since about '86, and when I first moved, I lived in King's Cross. And I used to know people that lived on Lloyd Baker Estate, and so I'd walked through Percy Circus many a times when I first lived in London, but never noticed Bevin Court. It seems tucked away on a one-way street, so I wasn't aware of it, and I really liked the fact that there was a lot of trees and grass around it, and a small park, and the fact that although it was so centrally located, so close to King's Cross, Bentonville Road, and the Angel, it was really quiet. It's a tall building, you can see it from all over London, you can see it from Hampstead Heath and UCH, and any high point you can see Bevin Court, but actually in its environment, down on ground level, unless you walk past it, you don't notice it.
It's interesting how the Georgian streets around it's unobtrusive to them. It doesn't push itself into that environment very much, and yet it's such a tall building.
Yeah, and it's near one of the tallest places in London, isn't it?
With the highest spots.
At one time. So there's a lot of, even though we're in central London, there seems to be seems quite clean and fresh air around here. Internally, the flats are really well proportioned, I think. I mean, we live in a one-bedroom flat. It's quite a relatively small one-bedroom flat, but it's really well laid out. So actually, all the space is maximised, and it's south-facing, so we get it's really light. That was one of the things that struck us actually when we moved in. I remember sitting in. We didn't have any blinds for ages because we're not overlooked by anyone. We used to sit in the front room with sunglasses on because it was so bright.
I just got this great image of you two sat. records.
Yeah,
Record
that was about
player.
it. I think now I was probably noisy when I moved in. The soundproofing wasn't quite as good as I thought. Just no one complained.
Okay, well, what do you know about Lubecken?
I've read about Lubecken. I've been to see a lot of his other properties. We've been to Dudley Zoo, Peter Lee.
Fantastic.
And other on open house days, been to other of his buildings in London.
And what does this compare to the other stuff that you've seen?
I think it compares really well. It's obviously not as grand as High Point, so it's not as ostentatious as them. The interior of them is very similar, I think, particularly in the maisonettes with the curved staircases. They're common throughout his flats.
Okay, your favourite memory of Bevin Court, or the best season for being here?
Spring's a good season,
Yeah.
because of all the spring bowls we put in.
But presumably it wasn't like that when you moved in.
No, it was all grass, but it wasn't really well upkept, and it was mostly people would exercise their dogs and let their dogs toilet on there. This little circular that's fenced in, that used to be broken, and people used to sit here on the wall and let their dogs run around in there.
Now it looks like a little fairies garden. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's a what was the best season, isn't it? I don't know if there is a best season. I mean, I don't particularly like the winter, so I like to go on the way in the winter. So I like coming back to for the last 5 years or so. I've been going to India in January or February for 3 or 4 weeks, and then coming back. Timed it so it's come back for the spring. Yeah, I like the mark of the season. I mean, there's big poplar trees here, and the first sign of one of the first signs of springs is the wood pigeons all come and eat the buds of the trees at the very top.
Right.
And then really within a few weeks the horse chestnuts flowering. There's a lot of wildlife around here in central London. We've got great spotted woodpeckers, goldcrests, lots of great tits and blue tits, goldfinches, bats, parakeets. They're new in the last few years. So being able to put up bird boxes and bat boxes and bird feeders has been really good. And with the planting we've done, I think it's really improved the place for wildlife, and we see a lot more now.
So what's changed since you moved?
There's 118 flats in this block. I think when I moved in there was a lot more sort of original older residents, and obviously a lot of them have moved on, either in care homes or died. And there's a constant change of turnover of people in these flats. Sometimes, and that sort of happens gradually, that you don't really realise it. But I think back over the time that I've been here, on my row of 5 flats, everyone's changed except for one.
Best view of Bevin Court or from Bevin Court?
The roof.
The roof.
Yeah. But you can't get up there. But there was dry. People would have used to, because there's drying sheds were up there for people to dry their clothes. They've been taken away. When I first started doing this sort of gardening project and looking at raising money, one of the things I was really first things I was keen of was whether it was possible to do a green roof on here, because it's a huge flat roof with fantastic views out of over central London. But within this project starting very rapidly, the council repaired the roof and they put some sort of insulation on top.
Oh, really?
And they're not keen on anyone going up there, because that's part of Well, for health and safety, part of their guarantee for the roof. It's sort of got asphalt on top of
Okay.
But
That's a shame.
I think the top flats have got the best views, 6th and 7th floors.
Yeah.
We're on the 4th floor. When we first few years we were here, we hankered for really to swap with someone from higher up. We never got round to it. And we really like our view now.
Yeah.
It's out over the trees and the flowers and things.
Yeah.
But there's view, a lot of the flats got really good views of St Paul's, the whole skyscape of central London, really. I think the maisonettes on the 6th floor probably got the best view of St Pancras and the West End on one side and the city on the other.